Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and good evening since this video was recorded in evening. And today I will, before I start, and introduce myself. My name is Diofaldo Ardhana, and today I will present my paper with the title France Influence for Non-Francophonie Countries Life. Um, Move to the introduction. So, since lifestyle of someone assimilating some practical things, Indonesia needs to know if assimilation change their lifestyle in several ways, particularly the influence of French culture around daily lifestyle of Indonesia. So, um, before we move to the deeply background. So assimilation itself is process by which the characteristics of member of immigrant groups and host society come to resemble one another. So it's not only the immigrants group, but the society's host that give the place is resemble one another. And as known, French is the one of the superpower country in the world because they start the Reformation's industry and the modern colonialism era and exploring era in moder, modernism era, and they influence and colonized a lot of um, country, um, and their influence become imitated and assimilated with some country, and it called francophones. And in Indonesia itself, we aren't francophones, but the French influence is really seen in our country. So the relations of the Indonesia and France itself established since the period of Berenice Oost in this company and William de Berry or Netherlands monarch on 19th century and established the formal structural relation on 2011. In this period, Indonesia's government established Frank MC as the symbol of their relations, also established of France institutional company, French educational institution, and French literature major on some universities. This report based on L'Ambassade de France of Jakarta in 2014. The influence of France itself conduct French cultural cooperations to support Indonesia's development as a new emerging country. This action give priority to research like rural development, acculturation, volcanology, geophysics, and archaeology and university exchange, primarily in the fields of technology and biological science, vocational training, support for strengthening the rule of law and democratic government, which include legislative technical assistance, fight against terrorism, and corruption, decentralization, human rights training, and the implementation of quality cultural actions such as through the French Springtime or La Printemps Français, cultural festival, and audiovisual policy and cultural exchange in some university based on Institut Français d'Indonésie in 2015. However, there has been little research into the French assimilation. Most research, there are Sassler. Has it been assimilated? Yeah. Since like someone assimilating in some practical things, we can see the legislative and the democratic things in Indonesia, and some language, some words in Indonesia is assimilated from French. And the past research from Sessler in 26 tell the assimilations that process which has both economic and socio-cultural um, dimension begins with the immigrant generations and continues through the second generation and beyond. Indeed, group may vary in the apparent uh, incompleteness of their assimilation for several reasons, including the level of human capital or education they bring with them and the social and economic structure of the society they enter. And if assimilation does exist after the influence, nation need to know the type, source, and frequency of this behavior and explore different mechanisms to embrace it wisely. And the research aim of this paper is to identify the type, source, and frequency of bronze simulation behavior used by Indonesian to copy the simulation and the alteration behavior of Indonesia who are influenced by France and its related things. So because of that, the I conduct research questions three research questions. First, what are the type, source, and frequency of funds assimilation behaviors in Indonesia's lifestyle regarding the current situations of Indonesia funds relations? And what behavior do Indonesians using to cope with funds assimilations of cultural and lifestyle changing in Indonesians lifestyle? And what behavior do Indonesian altering when they're affected by funds influence in Indonesians lifestyle? So in this paper, I conduct some research method, and the participant is some Indonesian, especially Yogyakarta's people, participated in this study. In order to take part in this research, they were required to meet these three criteria. First, are Indonesian or Yogyakarta's who studying France and French to capable to know and separate the Indonesian and the French culture, and three, shows the change in daily behavior after learning. And all, all participants, all participants were the people who daily worker or university student who study in Hospital Frances de Indonesia or in their university institution or programs such as French literature or French education. And the materials, the interview in this study was adapted from Sester social assimilation stage. Due to the limitation sample size involved in the study, I only conduct to 5 to 10 participants. The original 15 stages item list with 3 points as the response scale was customized into a qualitative study by transforming each item into an open interview questions. This adaptation allowed for the development of an unstructured, open-ended interview with each participant. All participants were asked about their experience and response to their new behaviors. Move to the procedure. So first, to record the participant, the researcher contact some perspective participant at community called Polyglot and Chapter Georgia and Warung Practice UMY at all level of occupation. Following participant contact with the researcher, the purpose, scope, and the required commitment were informed. After that, an instructor interview was conducted in French or English or Indonesia with the participants. The interview lasted for approximately 30 to 40 minutes or less than 30 minutes. And 2 weeks after the interview, the participant were given a transcript and two options to remove, edit, or add to their comments to analyze the data. Thematic identification and coding were employed. And this thematic data analysis was intended to identify frequencies, specificity, and emotionality of participant response. As standard practice, each interview was audio recorded and texted and then transcribed. Each interview transcript was read multiple times, and the initial analytic notes were made specific. Attention was given to common or overlapping themes. And move to the results. First, Indonesian views on French and French. So based on in the interview, the participants state that they already know and learn about the basics of France and French and about the differences between them. And they feels like more validated and more uh, motiv- motivated because there are several various ways to learn and interpreting the terms. So they learn like they have the time span learn in the several ways and being knowledgeable of the new knowledge basically in country and its culture is a good thing that makes them feel more validated than before than ordinary people. However, learning something outside of our country, our culture is a good thing that can add to our insight into the outside world. And the second results, Indonesian experience on different cultures. So Indonesia certainly have their own characteristics. So and because I say before, globalization, Indonesia also not forget and can separate the culture with foreign culture, even though there are globalizations comes into this era. Basically, the participants state that manner or the behavior which different and totally upside downing each other, and it marks their culture is a treasure that people could be rich after getting used to them. And for the last results, Indonesians perceive of the lifestyle changes are altered of foreign cultures because the various way of Indonesia. They have experience on the various way also. However, they still manage some of this behavior which can be adapted into their daily life or it cannot be adapted into their daily life. They should reflect it and compare it with their motherland manners or behavior. There is moment to receive, adapt, or to neglect it. And move to the discussion. So this study shows that Indonesia attracted to foreign culture naturally because we have the perspective like that, and to learn and to get to know other culture can have a positive impact on her life or their life. And there is various way of Indonesian in learning, so they have their own characteristic and they can separate and choose the manners or behaviors which can be adapted or not or cannot be adapted into their daily life, and they should reflect it and compare it with their motherland manners or behaviors because there is moment to receive, adapt, or to neglect it. And the influence of French culture is indeed extraordinary. It can be seen through the answers from the participant about their experience in French-related things. These findings support a previous study that influenced new behaviors, acculturation based on three steps, which knowing, learning, and adapting, as Sassler said in 26. However, Indonesian will better understand about this acculturation that are practiced by them who learn it first. Thus, it can be used as reference before assuming the acculturation is new. And the conclusion, this study explains the Indonesians' view on the acculturation carried by the people who learn foreign cultures. Some of Indonesia assume that this habit is a result of the great influence of the French in the world and to non-francophone country. This is evidenced by how the participant is showing the way of their lifestyle. And the results concludes that some Indonesians see that lifestyle change made by foreign culture are not a bad things because they are still within reasonable limits. And the suggestion for this paper and research, this research is a small scale study, so I suggest for further research to use more participant and approaches. Thus, the results to be obtained will various and reachable. This study also use qualitative methods, so it's recommended that the research method will use quantitative methods. In addition, adapting quantitative methods will address more diverse participants from different cultural backgrounds. This will be able to present more evidence from large amount of data. Finally, uh, this study compares to the old research and have different comparable era. So it's better to use latest research in the same era such as globalization era. So the research may be which developed this era. And here the bibliography, why I use bibliography, because there are books and reports and journal conducted in French and English. And that's all. Thanks for listening and watching. I hope these presentations can help you to understand the acculturation and assimilations, and learning the foreign culture is good enough for us. Okay. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.